Then Odokawa tried visiting Taichi Kabasawa College in order to talk with him and gather some information about him, but he is not coming since he is now famous due to hunting Dobu online. Just as Kakihana gathers his courage to leave and finally confess his feelings to the woman he's fallen for, he believes his lonely life is about to change for the better. Dressed up and full of excitement, he heads out with dreams of starting a new relationship. But the moment he leaves, a group of intimidating loan agents arrives at his apartment. They've tracked him down over his massive unpaid debt and quickly realize he's disappeared. While Kakihana is happily chasing love, the people hunting him are already closing in, setting up a dangerous collision between his romantic fantasy and the harsh reality waiting around the corner. After someone literally fires a gun at his house, Odokawa realizes he can't keep playing defense forever. Instead of going to the police station for protection, he does something much smarter. He invites Little Diamond, the younger police officer, to his apartment. At first, Diamond thinks this is just another routine investigation, but Odokawa drops a bombshell. He claims Diamond's own twin brother has secretly been working with the infamous gangster, Dobu. Naturally, Daimon explodes. There's no way my brother would ever work with a criminal, and honestly, can you blame him? Imagine a random taxi driver telling you your own brother is corrupt. Yeah, I'd be furious too. But Odokawa isn't trying to convince him with emotions, he's using logic. Odokawa explains the entire criminal hierarchy. Dobu isn't the kingpin, he's just one player competing against another dangerous criminal named Yano. And above both of them, there's someone even more powerful pulling the strings. That's when Odokawa reveals something even crazier. He's pretending to work for Dobu, not because he's a criminal, but because it's the only way to bring the entire organization crashing down. His plan? Dobu is preparing for another bank robbery. Instead of stopping it himself, Odokawa wants Daimon to arrest everyone during the robbery, even if Odokawa gets arrested too. That single sentence completely changes how Daimon sees him. This isn't a man protecting himself, it's someone willing to sacrifice everything just to stop evil. For the first time, Daimon actually starts listening, just when it seems things couldn't get any worse. A police radio interrupts the conversation. A woman's body has been discovered near Tokyo Bay, and investigators believe she's been dead for nearly a month. Suddenly, the missing girl case isn't just a disappearance anymore, it's a murder investigation. That single announcement raises the stakes for every character, because now, time is running out, and whoever's behind all this is getting closer to covering their tracks forever. On the other side, Kakihana leaves his apartment to finally confess his feelings to Shiho. On the way, he sends her a quick text apologizing for running a little late, completely unaware that danger is already waiting for him. Finally, concerned that Odokawa's strange behavior is getting worse, Goriki finally opens up to Shirakawa about his condition. He explains that Odokawa may be suffering from a serious psychological disorder affecting the way he perceives the world, and asks for her help in treating him. Although the situation is complicated, they decide to work together, believing that helping Odokawa recover could be the key to solving many of the mysteries surrounding him. Then Kakihana finally arrives to meet Shiho, believing his dream romance is about to become reality. But before he can enjoy the moment, Yano-man Sekiguchi and manager Yamamoto suddenly ambush him from behind. Caught completely off guard, Kakihana is knocked unconscious and kidnapped, turning what was supposed to be the happiest day of his life into the beginning of a terrifying nightmare. Night falls. Tokyo transforms into one giant Halloween party, but beneath all the costumes, everyone's hunting someone. Dobu is hunting Skull Mask. Internet streamer Kabasawa is hunting Dobu for the million-yen bounty. The police are chasing criminals, and Odokawa quietly searches the crowded streets for the mysterious Skull Mask. Instead, he unexpectedly runs into Yano, Dobu's charismatic but ruthless rival. Yano greets him with his usual calm, rhythmic way of speaking, acting surprisingly friendly despite being one of the city's most dangerous gangsters. During their conversation, Yano casually mentions that one of his subordinates has made a mistake, and he had to clean up the mess himself. He then reminds his idol partner not to be late for their Halloween event, showing how effortlessly he balances his criminal life with his public persona. While the conversation sounds almost ordinary on the surface, every word hints that Yano is preparing for something much bigger behind the scenes. Their brief encounter ends without violence. It's complete chaos, but that's exactly why it's so dangerous, because in a crowd where everyone is wearing masks, anyone could be your killer. Then, everything finally collides. Dobu tracks down the man wearing Skull Mask, except the guy isn't actually the real criminal, he's just a fan, which means the real Skull Mask is still out there. And before Dobu can get the answers he wants, Kabasawa comes out of nowhere, armed with his camera, and records everything, and runs in the crowd where neither Dobu nor Odokawa could catch up with him. Not long after the Halloween event, Yano receives an urgent call from Yamamoto, who tells him to come to a nearby warehouse immediately. When Yano arrives, he finds Sekiguchi waiting alongside a terrified Kakihana, who has been kidnapped by Sekiguchi. Realizing Kakihana can now be used as leverage against Odokawa, then Kakihana Kakihana finally learning the painful truth. Shiho never loved him. The expensive dates, the sweet messages, even the promise of marriage, it was all part of a carefully planned scam to drain every last yen from him. Heartbroken, Kakihana desperately tries to convince himself she's being forced to say those cruel words. But reality finally hits him. He's been played from the very beginning. Then Dobu and Odokawa have a tense conversation inside the taxi about the missing dashcam footage. Meanwhile, Odokawa receives an unexpected call from Yamamoto, who suddenly asks him to pick up one of the mystery kiss idols, saying she needs a ride to Shibuya because she prefers to stay out of the public eye. But here's a little problem. Odokawa agrees, but Dobu tells him that when he asks for dashcam footage, tell him the price is 1 billion. Dobu insists that the footage is the key to everything and demands to know who else might be after it. Odokawa questions why Dobu is so desperate to recover the data, suspecting there's more to the story than Dobu is willing to admit, although Dobu claims he's only trying to stay one step ahead of Yano. And the other thing about Dobu is that he is hiding inside Odokawa's trunk, secretly listening to the entire conversation. Now Odokawa is trapped between two dangerous criminals, and one wrong sentence could get him killed. Odokawa picks up Yamamoto and one of the mystery kiss idols before driving them toward Shibuya. As soon as Odokawa sees the mystery kiss idol, he instantly recognizes her as Shiho. During the ride, Yamamoto shifts the conversation to the missing dashcam footage. Odokawa boldly demands 1 billion yen in exchange for the dashcam footage, leaving everyone in the car stunned by the outrageous price. Trying to negotiate its purchase after hearing that someone else has offered 900 million yen price for it. Although he suspects the offer is a bluff, he admits the footage is extremely important and that he needs to obtain it as soon as possible. As the discussion continues, Yamamoto also talks about Mystery Kiss's rising popularity and reveals that a billionaire lottery winner plans to redeem his prize around Christmas to buy hundreds of thousands of the group's CDs. That seemingly casual comment instantly grabs Odokawa's attention, helping him connect a crucial piece of the puzzle and realize that the lottery winner has become the next target. Then Yamamoto brings Shiho to Yano's hideout, where the kidnapped Kakihana finally sees her again. Refusing to believe she betrayed him willingly, Kakihana tearfully insists that Yano must be forcing her to act this way. But Shiho coldly denies it, crushing the last bit of hope he had left and forcing him to accept that the woman he loved never truly cared about him. Also, Odokawa now knows where he dropped Yamamoto off, and he finds that there is a motorcycle which Yano is riding and collides with Odokawa. Then Odokawa receives a text from Goriki asking to meet him for drinks. While the gangsters make their moves, Goriki and Shirakawa begin discussing something much more disturbing: Odokawa. Goriki reveals that Odokawa's unusual ability to recognize people might not be incredible memory after all. Instead, it could be a rare neurological condition that's changing the way he perceives the world. He even learns that Odokawa grew up alone after being abandoned as a child and may have developed an imaginary companion to cope with years of isolation. When Goriki first meets Odokawa, he's immediately impressed by the taxi driver's incredible observation skills and sharp memory. Although Odokawa appears quiet and ordinary, Goriki quickly realizes there's something unique about the way he notices and remembers people. When Goriki asks how he can recognize complete strangers so easily, Odokawa casually jokes that he's a psychic. Goriki laughs it off at first, but that unusual answer only deepens his curiosity, making him wonder if there's a hidden medical explanation behind Odokawa's extraordinary perception. Suddenly, Odokawa isn't just a taxi driver caught in a crime story. He's someone quietly carrying emotional scars that nobody ever noticed, and Goriki becomes more determined than ever to help him before it's too late. While drinking together at the Yamabiko Izakaya, Goriki gives Odokawa a simple recognition quiz, showing him photos of several people to test his remarkable memory. To Goriki's astonishment, Odokawa identifies every face instantly without making a single mistake, further convincing him that Odokawa's extraordinary perception isn't normal and may be linked to a rare psychological condition. At the harbor, Yamamoto delivers bad news to Yano. Someone else is supposedly offering an unbelievable amount of money for the dashcam footage. Yano doesn't buy the story for a second. Instead, he immediately realizes someone is manipulating the situation. Then he pieces together an even bigger opportunity. A man has publicly claimed to have won 1 billion yen in the lottery. To Yano, that isn't good fortune, it's the perfect target. Instead of chasing the dashcam, he decides to let someone else do the hard work while he focuses on stealing the lottery winner's fortune. And Kakihana, rather than killing him, Yano keeps him alive as a hostage, knowing he could still become useful later. As if one criminal mastermind wasn't enough, Dobu has already figured out Yano's entire strategy. He explains that anyone claiming to have won a 1 billion yen lottery must eventually visit the bank to collect the money. And that's exactly where he plans to strike. Not by robbing the bank, but by robbing the lottery winner the moment they walk out carrying the cash. It's a bold plan. And to make it work, Dobu has even bribed someone inside the bank to leak the exact pickup time. Also in the police, someone else is assisting him and Odokawa asks him who that is. And he says that you are asking too many questions from me, and then he reveals the big diamond and Odokawa is recording all this conversation. Then Odokawa Odokawa has sent all recordings to Little Daimon. Realizing the lottery winner has unknowingly painted a target on his own back, Odokawa remember it was Shun Imai. Realizing Imai is in serious danger, Odokawa gives him an urgent call and asks him to meet immediately. Without revealing too much over the phone, he warns Imai that his billion-yen lottery winnings have made him a target and that they need to talk before it's too late. At first it seems like the crisis has been avoided, but then Imai casually mentions he's waiting until Christmas to cash in the prize because he wants to buy hundreds of thousands of Mystery Kiss CDs. Then Odokawa tells Imai to either delete or re-upload the lottery photo he posted online. He advises him to act like a pitiful idiot who was just showing off for attention, hoping people will dismiss the post as a desperate attempt to go viral instead of believing he actually won a billion yen. Then Imai say that I don't want to die unlit Mystery Kiss takes over the country. Mystery Kiss has been through a lot of hardship, but their spring's finally on the horizon. That single sentence makes Odokawa freeze. A forgotten clue suddenly clicks into place. This is the same statement Kakihana tells Odokawa when he meets Shiho on the internet. He realizes that Shiho is actually a calico cat. Now Kakihana is in danger and hence the reason why he is not responding to his calls. The pieces of the puzzle finally begin connecting, and for the first time, Odokawa realizes the truth has been right in front of him all along. Then Odokawa calling Little Daimon after listening to Dobu's confession. Although Dobu only accused Daimon's older brother, the young officer still isn't convinced. Instead of rushing in and ruining the bigger investigation, he agrees to let Dobu keep moving for now. But when Odokawa reveals that his best friend Kakihana has been kidnapped, Daimon doesn't hesitate to help, even if it means acting outside official police jurisdiction. But Odokawa insists that it is too early for the police to act. Before leaving with Dobu, he sends an email to Kabasawa informing him that Dobu will appear at Shibara Wharf. Be a hero. At the same time, Odokawa is growing impatient. He doesn't care about gang politics or unwritten rules between criminals anymore. All he wants is to rescue Kakihana before Yano can use him as leverage. On the way to Shibara Wharf, Odokawa explains to Dobu that Kakihana was lured into a classic badger game. He reveals that Shiho gained Kakihana's trust through a fake romance, showered him with affection, and manipulated him into borrowing huge sums of money before Yano's gang stepped in to exploit him. After hearing the full story, Dobu immediately realizes Yano is behind the entire scam. Then Odokawa and Dobu argue over how to rescue Kakihana from Yano. Dobu admits that negotiating with Yano won't work because the two gangs never interfere in each other's business, while Odokawa makes it clear he won't help with Dobu's bank robbery unless Kakihana is rescued first. Then, everything suddenly goes sideways. A skull mask man opens fire on their taxi. Bullets tear past the windows, forcing Odokawa to speed away while Dobu reaches for his gun. But instead of fighting back, Odokawa chooses to escape, because right now, staying alive matters more than revenge. Desperate and exhausted after days of captivity, Kakihana asks Sekiguchi if he can use the bathroom. Although Sekiguchi mocks him for his weak bladder, he eventually unties him and escorts him to the restroom, giving Kakihana a brief moment away from his confinement while still keeping a close watch on him. Following the clues, Odokawa and Dobu finally arrive at Yano's warehouse. When opening the gate, Sekiguchi arrives with an electrified bat, but Dobu stops him. He politely tells them to leave. Dobu's response? Not a chance. The two gangsters exchange insults before Dobu quietly tells Odokawa to grab Kakihana the moment an opening appears. Seconds later, a fight breaks out. While Dobu keeps Sekiguchi occupied, Odokawa slips inside the warehouse and finds Kakihana, but he is not there. He sees him later on at the washroom, exhausted and completely broken. Without wasting another second, Odokawa frees him and rushes him outside, while Dobu continues holding off the enemy. For the first time in what feels like forever, Kakihana is finally safe. After a brutal fight, Dobu finally overpowers Sekiguchi and prepares to finish him off. Desperate, Sekiguchi pleads, "Please, don't knock me out. If I lose here, I won't be able to face Yano." Dobu coldly replies that it's not his problem, telling Sekiguchi to leave this life behind and stop wasting his talent on cheap badger scams before walking away victorious. If it seems to have the situation under control, the school mask man suddenly appears and shoots him from behind. Caught completely off guard, Dobu collapses to the ground. On the other side, as they're escaping, Kakihana can't stop apologizing. He blames himself for falling for Shiho's romance scam and calls himself pathetic. To cheer him up, Odokawa reminds him of a funny memory from high school about a complicated puzzle box Kakihana proudly carried everywhere. The story sounds random, but Odokawa's point is simple. One mistake doesn't define your entire life. Sometimes people just need someone to remind them who they used to be before everything went wrong. It's a surprisingly emotional moment, especially considering everything happening around them. Just when things seem under control, internet celebrity Kabasawa suddenly appears, recording the entire scene. After spending weeks chasing Dobu for internet fame, he proudly declares himself the hero who's finally cornered the infamous gangster, but reality hits hard. The moment Kabasawa recording Dobu, grabbing him from behind and asking him, "Do you have a gun? Did you shoot me?" every ounce of fake confidence disappears. Instead of killing him, Dobu does something completely unexpected. He starts talking. Dobu explains that Kabasawa's obsession with fame isn't about justice at all. It's about insecurity. He wanted strangers online to validate him because he never believed in himself. And somehow, the criminal ends up giving the most honest life advice in the entire episode. He tells Kabasawa to stop chasing approval from millions of strangers and find someone he genuinely respects instead. The words hit harder than any punch ever could. Then Kabasawa desperately offers Dobu everything he owns, his apartment, his car, and all of his remaining money in exchange for his life. Satisfied with the apology and compensation, then he asks for one last thing. Completely broken, Kabasawa shuts down his channel, apologizes to his followers, and decides to rebuild his life from scratch. Back at Goriki's clinic, Kakihana is now being admitted. Goriki questions Odokawa about why he's risking his life by getting involved with Dobu and the criminal underworld. Odokawa admits that Shirakawa did scam him under Dobu's orders, but he doesn't believe she's truly evil. He explains that she was manipulated and controlled by Dobu through fear, and he will put an end to Dobu's organization once and for all. Although Goriki understands his intentions, he warns Odokawa that crossing paths with dangerous criminals could cost him his life and urges him to leave the rest to the police. The other day, Goriki visits Odokawa's apartment only to learn that he's already moved out, where he meets the building's landlord. During their conversation, she explains that Odokawa had been living there alone since elementary school, with financial support from a charitable foundation. She also reveals that despite receiving financial aid, Odokawa always insisted on repaying every extra yen he earned. Goriki then mentions that Odokawa once told him he believed his missing parents would eventually come back for him, leaving the landlord stunned. She gently explains that Odokawa's parents actually died many years ago, making Goriki realize that Odokawa has been living with a heartbreaking misunderstanding all this time. Before leaving, Goriki asks where Odokawa lived before moving into the apartment, and the landlord gives him the address of his childhood home in Shiroku, Chichibu, hoping it might help him uncover the truth about Odokawa's past. After failing to qualify for the comedy competition, Kensuke and Atsuya are left disappointed by another setback. As Atsuya heads off, Kensuke is approached by a persistent high school student who once again asks him to form a comedy duo. The student confidently promises he can write better material and help Kensuke reach the top, but Kensuke dismisses the offer, believing teaming up with a teenager would only damage his reputation. Even after being rejected, the boy refuses to give up, convinced they're destined to become a successful comedy pair someday. After hearing that Dobu survived being shot, Yano realizes his old rival isn't the gangster he once respected. Losing his gun, getting injured, and making one mistake after another convinces Yano that Dobu has become weak. Without wasting another second, he orders Sekiguchi to deliver a declaration of war. Then another opportunity falls right into his lap. Imai publicly claims that the viral lottery ticket he posted online was just a fake image made for attention. But Yano isn't fooled for a second. He immediately realizes the apology is nothing more than a cover-up, meaning the 1 billion yen is still real. Smiling to himself, he orders Sekiguchi to track Imai down before Dobu gets there first. Now the race for the money officially begins. Meanwhile, Yamamoto asks Odokawa for one last meeting. Unlike before, he doesn't come looking for a fight. Instead, he tries to settle things peacefully. Yamamoto warns Odokawa that the man paying 900 million yen is a yakuza, and once the deal is over, they could become a serious problem in the future. He cautions that getting involved with them might solve one issue today, but it could create an even bigger one down the road. Then Odokawa confronts Yamamoto, revealing that he already knows the romance with Kakihana was nothing more than a carefully staged badger game. He accuses Yamamoto of using Shiho to manipulate Kakihana into debt, exposing the entire scam and leaving Yamamoto with no choice but to admit that everything surrounding Kakihana was wrong, but insists he only did it to protect Mystery Kiss. To him, the idol group isn't about money, it's the dream he's sacrificed everything for. Odokawa quietly listens, then he makes an offer no one saw coming, instead of exposing Yamamoto to the police. He tells him to betray Yano. Odokawa calmly tells Yamamoto that he has a plan to bring down the people pulling the strings behind both of them, insisting that if they work together, they can finally put an end to Yano and the entire criminal operation. Yamamoto hesitates, furious that his plans have been exposed, he thinking how can a normal taxi driver can beat us. Then Yamamoto suddenly grabs Odokawa with his belt and tries to kill him and takes everything. Just before things turn deadly, Shirakawa rushes in and pulls Yamamoto out of the car and uses her judo skills, which she called dance, to throw him to the ground, overpowering him and putting an end to the attack, shielding Odokawa and forcing Yamamoto to back down. After being stopped by Shirakawa, Yamamoto breaks down, admits he went too far, and desperately begs Odokawa for forgiveness, saying he only wanted to protect Mystery Kiss and never intended for things to spiral this far. Odokawa explains that if Yamamoto helps helps bring Yano down, Mystery Kiss can finally escape the criminal world and continue on their own. Yamamoto hesitates. Turning against Yano could easily get him killed, but after thinking it over, he realizes this may be the only chance to truly protect the group. Then Odokawa calmly lays out his plan. It's simple, turn yourself into the police while you're robbing the lottery winner. Once you're arrested, Yano's entire operation will fall apart and everyone pulling the strings will be exposed. He agrees soon after. Shirakawa and Odokawa leave. During their drive, Shirakawa questions why Odokawa is still willing to work with Dobu after everything he's done. Odokawa explains that he doesn't trust Dobu at all. He's simply using him as part of a larger plan to bring down Yano and the entire criminal operation before settling things with Dobu himself. While talking with Shirakawa, Odokawa suddenly realizes someone has smashed his taxi's window twice in the same week. The strange coincidence makes everything click. Skull Mask Man attacked him wasn't acting randomly but had been tracking his movements all along. At first, the attacker had been tracking him with a hidden cell phone, but since a phone's battery wouldn't last long, he later switched to a GPS tracker hidden under the taxi. Smirking, Odokawa decides to turn the tables, saying he used that very GPS against the Skull Mask Man as part of his own plan. At the sauna, Odokawa meets the tattooed man, who bluntly tells him that he's the prime suspect in the murder case of the missing high school girl. The man questions why Odokawa is still walking free, but Odokawa calmly brushes off the accusation. After digging through Imai's online activity and social media posts, Yano and Sekiguchi successfully track down his location through cyberstalking. Realizing the lottery winner is within reach, they immediately set their plan in motion to capture him and seize the billion-yen prize, while everyone else is making backup plans. Dobu already has the entire operation figured out. After confirming that Yano has found Imai, he sits down with Odokawa and reveals an incredibly detailed strategy. The bank won't hand over 1 billion yen in a single suitcase. Instead, the money will be divided into 10 aluminum cases, with only one containing real cash while the others are mostly filled with counterfeit bills. Yano's crew will check the first case, assume everything else is genuine, and rush out before anyone gets suspicious. That's exactly what Dobu wants. Once they leave, he'll secretly secure the real 900 million yen, while using the police, which is Big Daimon, who's helping Dobu to stop Yano's car carrying mostly fake money. During the confusion, he'll steal the remaining 100 million yen, leaving Yano with absolutely nothing. Proud of himself, Dobu even reveals the operation's codename. Odd Taxi. Odokawa stares at him in complete disbelief. That's really the best name he could think of. Then Dobu offers Odokawa a share of the remaining 800 million yen after paying off the insiders at the bank, but Odokawa turns the offer down. Instead, he gives Dobu one condition: help him track down the Skull Mask attacker, insisting that finding the man who's been hunting him is worth far more than any amount of money. On the way, Yamamoto calls Odokawa to report that Yano has successfully tracked down Imai and plans to kidnap him the following day to force him to claim the 1 billion yen lottery prize. Odokawa then gives him one crucial instruction. After the bank employee opens the first aluminum case for inspection, have them insist on opening the second case as well. The unexpected request will catch Yano's crew off guard, making them panic and flee before the second case is checked, while the suspicious behavior alerts the police and sets the rest of Odokawa's plan into motion. With the plan ready, Odokawa rushes to warn Imai. He tells him the truth: the yakuza will come tomorrow. They'll force him to visit the bank, kidnap him afterward, and keep him imprisoned until the money is ready. Imai is understandably terrified, but Odokawa promises that if he stays calm, follows their instructions, and waits just 1 week, the police will arrest everyone involved before they can escape. Trusting Odokawa completely, Imai accepts his role in the dangerous plan, knowing he's risking everything for the chance to save Mystery Kiss as well as himself. As all the pieces fall into place, Goriki continues investigating Odokawa's mysterious past, hoping to uncover the truth behind his childhood accident. Before he can make any real progress, breaking news interrupts everything. The body recovered from Tokyo Bay has finally been identified. The victim is Yuki Mitsuya. An 18-year-old member of Mystery Kiss. The announcement sends shockwaves through everyone connected to the case. What started as a missing person investigation has officially become a murder case. Now, story opens with Rui Nikaido reflecting on how everything began. At just 16 years old, she achieved her dream of becoming an idol and joined the newly formed group Mystery Kiss. Standing beside her was the group's brightest star, Yuki Mitsuya. Gifted in ballet, gymnastics and athletics, Yuki was a natural performer who seemed born for the stage. Yamamoto immediately recognized her talent and made Rui the group's leader, but deep down, Rui couldn't help comparing herself to Yuki. No matter how hard she practiced, she always felt like Yuki was the one carrying the group's future. Mitsuya. After more than a year of training, Mystery Kiss finally held their debut concert with all 3 original members, including Yuki Mitsuya. But despite all their hard work and expectations, only 5 people showed up to watch. Yamamoto called it a decent start, but Rui was crushed by the disappointing turnout and became even more determined to make the group a success. While riding a crowded train after Mystery Kiss's disappointing debut, Rui accidentally meets Atsuya Baba for the first time. Atsuya's cheerful and easygoing personality immediately brightens her mood, and the brief encounter leaves a lasting impression, eventually becoming the start of an unexpected friendship that helps Rui through her darkest moments. Before their major debut, Rui asks Yuki and Shiho why they wanted to become idols. Yuki says it's been her dream ever since she was little and that she simply loves performing on stage. Shiho, on the other hand, admits she's chasing fame and success, believing becoming an idol is her chance to change her life. Their very different answers reveal the contrasting motivations that drive each member of Mystery Kiss. Before Mystery Kiss's big appearance, in their last practice session, the producer declares that it will be Yuki Mitsuya who will occupy the center spot, replacing Rui, because he feels Yuki is the one who has more stage presence and fan appeal. Despite the fact that Rui hides her sadness over the situation, it becomes the source of her future envy and insecurity. On October 4th, Rui contacts Yuki and asks her to meet at the Mystery Kiss agency office, telling her they need to discuss an important matter before the group's major debut. By now, Rui thought her eagerness to kill her had grown. When Rui arrives at the agency office, she is horrified to discover Yuki already dead. Moments later, Yamamoto rushes in and, seeing Rui standing over the body, immediately asks, "Did you kill her?" Through tears, Rui insists she's innocent and explains that she only asked Yuki to meet her so they could talk before the group's major debut. Realizing Rui had nothing to do with Yuki's death, Yamamoto quickly shifts his focus to protecting Mystery Kiss, and together they make the desperate decision to cover up what happened. Realizing the situation is beyond his control, Yamamoto immediately calls Yano and begs him to help cover up Yuki's death before the group's major debut is destroyed. About an hour later, Yano arrives at the agency with Sekiguchi. After assessing the situation, Yamamoto and Rui carefully move Yuki's body out of the office and transport it to Yano's warehouse, where they begin planning how to dispose of the evidence, pulling Yamamoto and Rui even deeper into the criminal conspiracy. Before anyone could discover what had happened, Yamamoto returned to the agency office to wipe away any evidence linking Yuki to the scene. To prevent the police from tracking her location through her cell phone's GPS, he took Yuki's phone far away from the office and secretly disposed of it, hoping to mislead investigators and buy himself more time to keep the truth hidden. After helping hide Yuki's body, Yano lays out the next step of the cover-up. He tells Yamamoto to have Yuki's family file a missing person report with the police to make it look like she simply disappeared. Then, once the investigation cools down and they gather enough information from the police, Yamamoto is instructed to convince her parents to withdraw the report, feeding them a fabricated story that Yuki had run away, allowing the case to quietly fade from public attention. Exchanged for covering up Yuki's death and protecting Mystery Kiss, they were forced to hand over half of the group's future profits to Yano, also allow them to use any member for their work. After Yuki's body was disposed of, Yamamoto rushed to keep Mystery Kiss alive. He recruited a new girl named Sakura to replace Yuki, and following Yano's plan, convinced Yuki's parents to let her perform under Yuki Mitsuya's name until their daughter supposedly returned. To avoid exposing the switch before the group's official debut, both Shiho and the new Yuki wore masks during their early appearances, hiding the replacement's identity while the cover-up remained intact. As Mystery Kiss continued practicing with Sakura posing as the new Yuki Mitsuya, everyone quietly admitted that things would have been so much easier if the real Yuki were still with them. Later, Rui has a heartfelt conversation with Sakura, asking why she wants to be an idol. Sakura smiles and says it's been her dream ever since she was a child, and that she wants to stand on stage, make people smile, and become someone fans can look up to. Hearing Sakura's innocent dream only deepens Rui's guilt, knowing that the opportunity came at the cost of the real Yuki's life. As Mystery Kiss finally earned enough marks to hold their own concert, everyone celebrated the milestone, but Rui couldn't share their excitement. Even with the group's growing success, she couldn't stop thinking that if the real Yuki Mitsuya had still been with them, everything would have been even better, a thought that continued to fuel her guilt and regret. News suddenly broke that Nerima high school girl gone missing after taking a taxi on her way to the agency. Because her father was a well-known public figure, the police deliberately kept her identity as an idol hidden from the media. Rui and Yamamoto were questioned several times during the investigation, but one detail terrified them more than anything else: the taxi driver who had picked Yuki up that day. If he remembered her face or still had dashcam footage from that ride, everything they had been trying to hide could be exposed. Eventually, Yamamoto convinced Yuki's parents to quietly withdraw the missing person report by claiming she had simply run away from home because of problems involving her family's reputation. Also, her father's connections to the criminal underworld also affect her career. The investigation slowly faded from the public eye, but Rui's guilt only grew worse. Every knock on the door, every stranger passing by, and every unfamiliar face made her wonder if someone had finally discovered the truth. The stress became unbearable, and the only thing keeping her from breaking down completely was Atsuya. Without ever knowing what she was hiding, his optimistic outlook helped Rui keep moving forward even when she felt trapped by her own guilt. But the secret they fought so hard to bury finally comes back to haunt them. Breaking news announces that the body recovered from Tokyo Bay has officially been identified as Yuki Mitsuya, shocking fans across the country. Mystery Kiss immediately cancels its upcoming concert and holds a press conference for that matter. While everyone else reacts to the news, Odokawa quietly notices something that no one else does. Watching the television report, he suddenly realizes that the girl identified as Yuki Mitsuya isn't the same girl he drove in his taxi back on October 4th. He clearly remembers picking up two different girls, including one who loved fried chicken. That memory instantly tells him the person shown on the news and the passenger from that night are not the same individual. As the day of the 1 billion yen withdrawal finally arrives, both sides put their plans into motion. While Dobu and Odokawa quietly prepare their counter-strategy, Yano moves ahead with his own operation, completely unaware that Odokawa has already uncovered a clue that could unravel the entire Mystery Kiss cover-up. After tracking Imai through his social media posts, Yano and Sekiguchi abduct him and force him into their car. During the drive to the bank, a terrified Imai begs them not to hurt him and insists he'll hand over the lottery winnings without resisting. Yano calmly assures him that as long as he follows instructions and doesn't try anything foolish, he'll walk away unharmed. Meanwhile, another long-running storyline finally reaches its emotional conclusion. After struggling for years to make it as comedians, the members of Homo sapiens realize they've grown too far apart. Their different philosophies about comedy eventually boil over into a heated argument, and they decide to end their partnership, bringing their dream to an emotional close. Soon after, Mystery Kiss holds an emergency press conference. Standing before reporters, Yamamoto publicly admits that after Yuki disappeared, the agency secretly replaced her with another girl while pretending nothing had happened. He apologizes for deceiving the public, but carefully avoids revealing what really happened behind the scenes. Instead, he suggests that obsessive fans may have been involved in Yuki's death, hoping to divert attention away from the agency's own secrets. Elsewhere, Goriki continues searching for answers about Odokawa's mysterious past. He visits the hospital where Odokawa was treated as a child after the tragic accident that killed both of his parents. The doctor explains that young Odokawa survived the crash, but completely lost his memory of the incident. During rehabilitation, he kept a notebook documenting every part of his daily routine to help rebuild his memories. Realizing that notebook could finally explain why Odokawa sees the world so differently, Goriki asks to examine it, believing it may hold the key to understanding his patient once and for all. Then scene shift inside the bank as Imai prepares to collect his massive lottery prize. Yano's crew is tense, but everything appears to be going exactly according to plan. Even when the bank employees ask to inspect the briefcases one more time, Yano stays completely confident. After all, he's convinced he's already won. But Odokawa has been thinking several moves ahead. Just before leaving the bank, Yano asks the employee to open the second aluminum case for one final inspection. However, Sekiguchi quickly interrupts, saying they should leave immediately instead of wasting more time. Confident that everything is fine, he insists they can check the remaining cases later, unknowingly allowing Odokawa's hidden plan to succeed. The money is loaded into 10 aluminum briefcases, and Yano confidently leaves the bank with Imai, believing he's now carrying the full 1 billion yen. Meanwhile, Dobu can barely hide his excitement. Then Dobu secretly receives the real cash from the cooperating bank employees as planned. With the genuine money safely in his possession, he believes the operation has gone perfectly and that Yano has unknowingly walked away with decoy cases. At parking lot, Odokawa secretly attaches the GPS tracker to the black van carrying the remaining 900 million yen. As Yano's van drives toward the harbour, a patrol car suddenly appears behind them. Knowing that a police car is following them, Yano immediately wants to escape, but Sekiguchi keeps his cool. As long as they obey every traffic law, the officer won't have any reason to stop them. Or at least, that's what he thinks. A few moments later, the police pull the van over. Then Big Daimon politely explains there's been a report of bank robbers nearby and asks to inspect the vehicle. Since Imai really is the lottery winner, Yano isn't worried at all. He's convinced that once the police see the money, they'll simply wave them through. But when the officer opens another briefcase, everything changes. Instead of stacks of cash, it's filled with counterfeit bills. Yano freezes. No, that's impossible. They quickly open another case, more fake money. then another and another. Nearly every briefcase is stuffed with worthless counterfeit bills instead of real cash. For the very first time, Yano completely loses his composure. His famous non-stop rhymes disappear as panic takes over. Someone tricked him, someone outplayed him, and he immediately realizes exactly who that someone is, Dobu. As Yano desperately tries to explain that they've been framed, Big Daimon continues questioning him while secretly buying more time. Suddenly, Sekiguchi starts growing suspicious and confronts Big Daimon, asking, "Are you really a police officer?" His instincts tell him something isn't right. The entire robbery has fallen apart exactly the way Dobu planned. Right in front of Yano, Dobu drives away in Yano's own van, which still contains the remaining 100 million yen. Watching both the money and his vehicle disappear, Yano finally realizes that Dobu had completely turned his carefully planned robbery against him, leaving him with nothing. Meanwhile, the real money is already heading somewhere else. After taking the 100 million yen into Odokawa's taxi, Dobu leaves the scene and heads to the Shimbashi parking lot, where the remaining 900 million yen is hidden inside the black van. Believing the entire fortune is finally within his grasp, he prepares to collect the rest of the money before anyone else can interfere. Watching everything unfold from a distance, Dobu can't help but smile. After spending the entire series competing against Yano, he finally gets to watch his rival experience total defeat. For a brief moment, it feels like Dobu has finally won, but before parting ways, Dobu gives Odokawa a chilling warning. He tells him that if he ever tries to hand him over to the police or betray him, he'll hunt him down no matter how long it takes. Dobu even threatens to kill Shirakawa first and then Odokawa, reminding him that crossing a yakuza always comes with deadly consequences. The happiness does not last for long, because someone else has been watching the entire situation from the shadows. The mysterious skull-masked man suddenly appears, carrying Dobu's stolen revolver. Instead of running away, Dobu confidently steps forward. He counts every bullet the masked man has already fired throughout the series and smugly announces there's no ammunition left. Odokawa slowly steps between the masked man and Dobu, expecting another fight, but instead of demanding money or revenge, the stranger says something completely unexpected. He isn't after the cash at all. All he wants is an apology. At first, nobody understands what he's talking about. The masked man claims that years ago someone stole something precious from him, ruining his life. He admits that chasing revenge became the only thing keeping him alive, yet even now he isn't sure what satisfaction would actually feel like. Odokawa apologizes for accidentally hitting him with his taxi and breaking his phone, believing that's what the man is talking about. But then everything changes. The masked man notices the rare eraser Odokawa carries and asks where he got it. Before Odokawa can answer, Dobu explains that the eraser originally came into his possession through his boss, who knew Donraku personally. Dobu later gave it to Shirakawa, and she eventually passed it on to Odokawa. The tiny collectible instantly reminds him of something from his childhood. That memory leads him to ask a strange question about an old online auctions. 16 years earlier, someone using the username Ditch11 scammed him out of 100,000 yen in an online auction. Ever since that day, he blamed that single betrayal for destroying his entire life. Believing Dobu is that same person, he becomes convinced he's finally found the person responsible for all his suffering. The Skull Mask Man asks Dobu to hand over his phone so he can check whether the game Zuden is installed. He's trying to confirm if Dobu is the player behind the account Ditch11. Still trying to identify the person behind Ditch11, the Skull Mask Man hands his phone to Odokawa and asks him to look at the player's Zuden profile. Thanks to Odokawa's unusual ability to recognize people by their faces, he immediately identifies the profile picture, revealing the true identity of the world's #1 Zuden player, and it's Dobu. Odokawa immediately realizes he's being falsely accused, but before he can fully explain, the Skull Mask Man pulls the trigger one last time. This time, there really was one bullet left, ends up striking Dobu instead. Seriously wounded and realizing he can't escape on his own, Dobu begs Odokawa to take him to a doctor before the police arrive, hoping to avoid being arrested while receiving treatment. Instead of abandoning him, Odokawa calls for medical help, proving that even after everything, he refuses to let someone die if he can prevent it. Elsewhere, Dobu's entire criminal empire comes crashing down. At the same time, the rest of Odokawa's plan finally pays off. The real 900 million yen remains safely hidden inside the black van. Odokawa immediately calls Imai, tells him exactly where the vehicle is parked, and calmly explains how to recover every yen that belongs to him. For the first time since winning the lottery, Imai is finally getting his money back. Then Yano and Sekiguchi overpower Big Daimon, stealing his patrol car and leaving him behind. Determined to recover the stolen money and get revenge, they immediately begin chasing Odokawa. Meanwhile, as the situation escalates, Odokawa tells Imai that he will give him 100 million yen afterward, since since Yano is now actively chasing him and the situation has become urgent. Furthermore, little Daimon catches up to his older brother and finally learns the heartbreaking truth. Big Daimon admits he secretly worked with Dobu because Dobu's boss was the same man who financially supported them through the foundation for children orphaned by accidents. Feeling indebted, he chose loyalty over justice. Little Daimon is furious. He accuses his brother of betraying everything they swore to protect as police officers. But despite the anger, he still can't bring himself to hate him. Instead, he promises they'll face the consequences together and finally arrest Yano's entire organization. The final chapter opens with Odokawa reflecting on his childhood. Growing up, he always felt uncomfortable around people. Looking someone in the eyes terrified him, and talking to classmates was even worse. School became a nightmare. The other kids constantly bullied him, mocked the way he cried, and cruelly compared him to a walrus. Even his teachers ignored his suffering instead of helping. Home wasn't any better. His father was rarely around because he was cheating on Odokawa's mother, while his mother constantly took her frustration out on him. She yelled, hit him, and cried almost every day. The only escape Odokawa ever had was the zoo. Unlike people, animals never judged him. Although he was rarely home, Odokawa's father visits one day and gives young Odokawa an animal encyclopedia as a gift. Fascinated by animals, Odokawa treasures the book and reads it over and over, making it one of the few happy memories he has of spending time with his father. On one of the few days they spend together, Odokawa's father takes him to the zoo, telling him to enjoy the animals while he runs an errand. In reality, he leaves Odokawa there so he can secretly meet the woman he was having an affair with. Although Odokawa feels sorry for his mother, the zoo becomes his favorite place, where he finds comfort away from the troubles at home. He could spend hours looking into their eyes without feeling anxious. Among all the animals, one became his favorite, the walrus. It was quiet, gentle, and strangely comforting. In many ways, Odokawa felt like he belonged with the animals more than with humans. As Yano and Sekiguchi relentlessly chase Odokawa through the city, the story briefly flashes back to the journeys of nearly every major character, weaving their perspectives into a final emotional mosaic. Then Odokawa makes a desperate decision. To escape and protect everyone involved, he deliberately drives his taxi off the bridge and into the water, ending the high-speed chase and setting the stage for the final truth about his past to be revealed. Furthermore, the members of Homo sapiens, still struggling with their identity as a comedy duo, reflect on how far they've drifted from their original dream of making people laugh. Their internal tension mirrors the chaos unfolding in the city, as they question whether success is worth the compromises they've made. Rui Nikado, Shio Ichimura, and Sakura Wadagaki are shown in parallel emotional threads tied to the idol world. Rui wrestles with guilt over the consequences of fame and the pressure of maintaining her image, while Shiho's ambition clashes with her growing awareness of how easily people are discarded in the entertainment industry. Sakura, increasingly unstable, clings to her obsession with identity and replacement, her actions revealing how far she has drifted from reality. Kakihana is briefly shown reflecting on his loneliness and desperation for connection, his earlier fantasies of love now replaced with a quiet, painful self-awareness. His story underscores the emotional emptiness that has followed him throughout the series. The Skull Mask Man appears in a darker flashback, his presence tied to violence and coercion, hinting at the hidden criminal undercurrents that have been influencing events from the shadows. Kabasawa, once obsessed with going viral, is shown confronting the emptiness of online fame. His earlier excitement has faded into confusion as he realizes how quickly attention disappears and how little it ultimately means. Meanwhile, Goriki and Shirakawa share a quieter, more grounded conversation. Goriki reflects on Odokawa's condition. He had developed a rare neurological condition called visual agnosia, triggered by the trauma of the accident. The damage to his brain is causing an error in its cognitive function. To cope with the trauma, while Shirakawa expresses concern for the emotional toll everything has taken on the people involved. All of these fragmented stories converge emotionally as the chase continues, reinforcing how every character, no matter how small their role, has been pulled into the same web of fate, misunderstanding, and consequence just before the final confrontation with Odokawa. After driving his taxi off the bridge, Odokawa slowly sinks beneath the water, trapped inside the submerged vehicle and on the verge of drowning before rescuers race to pull him to safety. One night, everything changed forever. His parents took him on a rare family drive. For the first time in a long while, they were together. His father slept drunkenly in the back seat while his mother silently drove through the city. Young Odokawa was simply happy to be with both of them again, but that happiness lasted only a few moments. A terrible traffic accident changed his life forever. When Odokawa finally woke up in the hospital, nothing looked normal anymore. The doctors tried explaining what had happened, but he barely understood any of it. What confused him even more was that every single person around him looked like an animal. The doctors looked like alligators, the nurses looked like pandas, the patients looked like llamas, tortoises, and beavers. To Odokawa, it felt as though he had become a walrus living inside inside a world full of talking animals. After the accident claimed the lives of his parents, Kuroda, the man Odokawa remembers as a tapir, steps in to take responsibility for him. Through the Traffic Accident Orphan Foundation, Kuroda arranges for Odokawa to move to Tokyo, where he can start a new life away from the painful memories of his childhood. Later, Odokawa thank him properly someday. As Odokawa's taxi sinks beneath the water, Shirakawa dives in without hesitation and rescues him from the submerged vehicle. Thanks to her quick actions, Odokawa is pulled to safety and rushed to the hospital, but the audience finally learns the shocking truth. Back at the hospital, Odokawa slowly opens his eyes. Goriki asks him the question everyone has been waiting for. What do I look like now? Odokawa calmly smiles. A human. For the very first time since the accident, the animals are finally gone. Odokawa never actually saw animals. The entire world we've watched throughout the series has actually been filled with ordinary humans all along. Every animal we've seen has simply been how Odokawa's damaged mind interpreted reality. As Odokawa adjusts to seeing the world as it truly is, the police begin cleaning up everything left behind by the mystery kiss case. Rui, Yamamoto, Yano, and Sekiguchi are all arrested for their roles in covering up Yuki Mitsuya's murder, finally bringing the truth into the open. When Odokawa regains consciousness, Imai visits him at the hospital to thank him for saving both his life and his lottery winnings. Grateful beyond words, Imai offers Odokawa a large reward, but Odokawa refuses to keep it for himself. Instead, he decides the money should go toward helping children through the Traffic Accident Orphan Foundation, honoring the people who once gave him a second chance after losing his own parent. Later, Goriki finally solves another mystery that had bothered him for months. Whenever he visited Odokawa's apartment, it always sounded like someone else was inside. The truth was much simpler. Odokawa had been living with a stray cat all along. Because of his visual agnosia, he perceived the cat as an ordinary housemate. After everything is over, Odokawa visits Kuroda at the Sunabar before his retirement. During their conversation, Odokawa asks about the one rule he always taught Dobu to follow. Kuroda replies that no matter what happens, never kill anyone. Believing Kuroda can put it to better use, Odokawa can entrust him with nearly 100 million yen, asking him to use the money to support the Traffic Accident Orphan Foundation and help children who lost their parents, just as the foundation once helped Odokawa. Elsewhere, life slowly begins moving forward for everyone else. The comedy duo Homo Sapiens gets another chance to perform. Atsuya refuses to abandon Ri despite her arrest, and the city gradually returns to its normal routine after weeks of chaos. It seems like every mystery has finally been solved. Or has it? In the closing moments, Sakura Wadagaki, the girl who secretly replaced Yuki Mitsuya in Mystery Kiss, calls her mother. During the conversation, she casually reveals that everything has worked out in her favor and hints that becoming famous wasn't enough. She quietly says she's even thinking about getting rid of one more person. The final twist, it's revealed that Sakura Wadagaki was the one who murdered Yuki Mitsuya. After secretly replacing Yuki as the new Mystery Kiss member, Sakura calmly tracks down Odokawa's taxi, the last vehicle Yuki rode before her death, hinting that she's already planning her next move. Then she notices a familiar taxi. It's the very same taxi Odokawa drove on the night Yuki Mitsuya disappeared. With a smile, Sakura gets inside. Odokawa politely asks, "Where to?" The screen cuts to black. And just like that, Odd Taxi ends with one final chilling mystery, leaving us to wonder whether the real killer has been sitting in plain sight all along. So if you like the video, please hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you sometime.